Alright, so the question I get asked the most on my YouTube channel is how do I sub things to PSA and how do I know if something is worth submitting? Well, in this video, I'm going to be tackling the first question and I'm going to be giving you guys my thought process on how I choose what I'm going to be grading. I'm going to try and go step by step with you guys from choosing the cards to like what top loaders I use, how I send them out, etc, etc. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so for the first thing, how do I choose my cards? Well, nowadays, there's not really a lot of money in grading. It's not like how it was before where you can just send things off and get graded. So for me, I personally only grade if there's a huge margin to be had, and that's only obviously through PSA 10s. So I always choose the best specimens that I have, and sometimes it can compete with my binder. So what would happen in that case is I would have two cards. The first one is like, the one that I want to submit, and that one is really minty. And then I have my binder copy, which is also minty, if not mintier. What I end up doing is, actually this is kind of funny, but I end up subbing both of them to PSA. As PSA looks at both, they usually choose one gets a 10, and then the second one gets a 9. I end up cracking the 9 and putting it back in the binder and keeping the 10, and usually either selling it off or adding it to my PSA 10 collection. The main reason I do this is because it increases my odds at hitting a PSA 10, and if there's any slight differences between the two cards, I figured the grader would choose one and say, all right, this is better than the other one. It does end up costing me about double for a lot of the cards, but to me it doesn't really matter because, like I said, I'm submitting cards with high margins if they hit PSA 10s, and I only submit really minty stuff. So all of that combined creates a high chance at hitting a PSA 10 and a lot of my money back because of that. The 9s do end up being money on fire, but I'm quite happy because I have a PSA 10 copy that I can choose to do whatever I want with. And then I have a binder copy that is, in my opinion, is a gem mint copy. It's just PSA doesn't agree. All right, so then we've chosen the cards. Next, what I want to do is acquire something called card savers. Card savers was what I use because that's the cheapest. They are the ones that manufacture the most of them because they're the biggest brand name. And because of this, you're going to get the best price. The ones that I use are called Card Saver 1s. And I think that that's the brand name. The only thing that I do to this card saver in order to make it more efficient is I actually cut off the side here. And what this does is it makes removing the card from the sleeve a lot better. Okay, like you have to understand the people that work at PSA are pretty much monkeys, right? So you have to make their job as easy as possible. And I figured that this is the best way to do it. Not only is it a lot easier to get the card into the sleeve, it's a lot easier to remove. The next thing that you want is the sleeve that you're going to be using to put the card inside of this. You never want to submit the card right into the card saver. It's pretty obvious, but just in case one of my viewers is having like intrusive thoughts, what you want to do is put it in a penny sleeve. Penny sleeve is what I recommend the most. It's the softest sleeve. It's 50 microns in thickness. So what that does is when you put the card in, it allows for the card to kind of overpower the sleeve. It doesn't give it any chipping. If you use a regular sleeve and there's any sort of resistance, the card will be kind of beaten by the thickness of the regular playing sleeve. So you always want to use a penny sleeve, and then you just slip it right in, and because it's cut, it's like a lot easier to put in there, right? Like you stick it out and it goes right back in, and it stays pretty well, to be honest with you. Like there's no movement whatsoever. It doesn't come out, nothing like that. So that's pretty much like the card prepping. Some people decide to use like hang tabs here so that you can pull the card out, but because I'm using the cut edge, I don't need to put that because all you do is just open the edge and you can pull the card out. You don't actually need anything or a pull tab to pull the cards out, so you save yourself a couple of bucks there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for card preparation. Now let's get into the PSA website where I'll show you guys how I submit as well as what options I decide to choose. So let's get into that. All right, so we're now at the PSA website. Now what you want is to make an account, obviously, and you want to go to submit. You want to hit start, and then you start a new submission. Trading cards, that's what I'm focused on. If you do anything else, all power to you, but this is what we're going to focus on today. Grading, the crossover and the review. Let's just go over them, whatever. I'm not going to make a video for them specifically. Basically, all you're doing is the no autograph, unless you have an autograph, but most of the time you don't want an autograph. You go next. You have the regular value TCG. What you want is the TCG bulk. This is $15 a card, and it pretty much covers what we're doing when it comes to, like, you know, Magic, Pokemon, or Yu-Gi-Oh. You hit next, and then you hit the card name. So let's just say I have a Des Volscaf. SJC, current grade 9.5, grading service, BGS, current, so you write that down. Minimum grade, obviously I want PSA 10. So if it does not cross over, what happens is they just send back the card to you. In my experience, I found that if you have any surface issues or anything like that, that does get bypassed in this crossover because they don't have a way to be able to see the surface on the card, right? Because the card is in the case, be it PSA or whatever. So if you have some minor issues, you are able to kind of cheat the system in this way and, you know, skip over and get that PSA 10, as long as obviously the surface grade is like a 9, 9.5. It can't be like a 7 and, you know, PSA is going to give you a 10. Like, that's not going to happen. But yeah, anyway, so I hit minimum grade, close window. I type in the value. Usually I always send things at $15 a pop, and I hit save. So let's just do this. Okay. Next. Okay, so it says this service level requires a minimum of 20 items. Okay, so let's just do 20 of those. Oh man, I can't. Okay, I mean that, you get the idea here. Like, let's go back to this because this is what's really important, the grading aspect. This is what the video is really about. We're gonna go next. And then here is where you have the bunch of options, okay? So the regular submission, as well as I believe value, all of these right here, value plus, the $25, etc. All of these you do not need to make an account in order to submit through PSA. The only ones you need it is the bulk right here. Now, when does this start adding up, right? Because there's a $10 difference. If you're planning to submit more than 10 to 15 cards, then I would recommend you pay that premium, you pay that account, and then you get the TCG bulk submission, right? Because there's a $10 difference, and the membership, I believe, is $100, maybe $150. So whatever that number is, divided by 10, you'll get how many cards you need to submit in order to make it worthwhile. If you're submitting more than 10, 15 cards, I definitely recommend you get the membership. It's gonna cost you the exact same thing anyway, and it allows you to get TCG bulk for the whole year after that. And I'm not even sure if they even removed the service. Like, I'm not even sure if they removed like the whole account thing. I think it's kind of dumb, very, very stupid. So yeah. Anyway, let's go into submission because I have a sample submission I'm already doing. It's 75 cards. I usually try not to send more than 75 cards in one submission. The main reason is because if you get a bad grader, you're gonna get hosed for the whole thing, right? I'd rather take my chances and just have a bunch of submissions so that they can be evaluated by a bunch of graders. Now, obviously, it can go the other way around where if you get a good grader, you're gonna get a huge submission that has a ton of 10s. But I've really seen that it's usually the former, not the latter. You're usually gonna get a bad grader that's gonna botch you. So you don't wanna just piss your money away with PSA. You wanna be selective. I like to limit to like pretty much like 40, maybe 50 cards. But in this case, I put 75 just because this is all I had really to submit for now. So I just sent everything at once. But I would recommend if you have a ton of cards, keep it to 40 cards and below. You don't want to take your chances with that bad grader and end up blowing like 2-3 grand to PSA. Next, we have shipping and billing. Always ship it back to you. You never want to keep it at PSA. If you don't own your things, if you can't hold them in your hands, they're not yours. Trust me, that's a rule for life, okay? It doesn't just apply to cards. All right, so we hit ship back to me. This is the total that we're gonna have to pay for the service fee. This does not include upcharges. So if anything hits a 10, most likely we're gonna pay more for it. But if it doesn't, if we get a 9, we're gonna pay a flat $15. Insured shipping, I don't know what this is, but yeah. We're gonna go into like the credit card, put in the information. I don't believe collector club vouchers even exist anymore, so we don't have to worry about that. I can't scroll any further because otherwise it'll show you my address. So we're going to skip and then we're going to get to the return shipping. So we have return shipping method, insured shipping, or FedEx. If you are a foreigner, okay, like if you are in Canada or Europe or whatever, I highly recommend you find yourself a middleman, somebody that you can trust from the Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon community, and tell them, listen, hey, I'll have the item shipped back to you. I'll pay you like, I don't know, $100, and I need you to ship the items to me from where you are. The reason I say this is because you are going to pay up the ass if it comes from PSA to you. Not even customs and duties, like it's just literally the FedEx shipping is gonna cost you a ton of money. It's always better to go with the USPS shipping, have it shipped to the middleman, and then have him send it to you. If you are in Canada, it's probably gonna cost you like $100, and then you pay him another $50 on top of that for forwarding the package. It's gonna be a lot cheaper than the $300-400 bill that you're gonna be receiving from FedEx when all is said and done. So you put in the US address, you hit insured shipping, you go next. Now you have the cards that you're going to be submitting, and then you're going to agree, and then you're going to hit next. Okay, it's going to process, the wheels are spinning, and then you're going to get to this page. Now this is where some people have a little bit of difficulty. I'm not sure why, but they do. Okay, so you're going to print submission forms. On the submission forms, on every single page right here, you're going to write the number of orders. In this case, it's going to be 1, and then in the number of collectibles included, it's gonna be 75 items. So you're gonna put 75 here, okay? You don't fill anything else. This is pretty much it. And I think you can fill it up before like you print it, so you don't have to use a pen or anything like that. The next thing that you wanna print is this package right here. So this page, this is gonna come out with like 4 or 5 pages. You want to remove the one that says for customers. So that would be customer copy. You see that right there. You want the ones only like number 1 and number 2. You take that up, you fold it, you put it in the package, and then you seal it up. But what you want to do when you seal them up is, what I do at least, is I take these, okay, and then I cellophane wrap them. I cellophane wrap them so that nothing is moving, nothing is like, it's basically a brick now, all right? There's no way anything can get lost. I don't want them saying that they lost anything. I don't want them saying that they damaged anything. Again, they are monkeys over there. You have to make it as streamlined as possible so that they don't mess it up. Anyway, you seal it up, you bubble wrap everything, you put the papers in, and then you close it up, you get the label that you want to print. What I do is I print this thing. Well, you're supposed to print it anyway, but what I do is I print it and then I stick it right beside the label, okay? This way, it cannot be missed. You can't say like, oh, it was on the side of the box, we didn't see it, whatever. No, you got it in, it's right there in front of you. Sometimes I even put 2 of them, like one on this face and one on the back face, just because I don't want them messing up anything, especially if it's like a super expensive package. And then I send it off to PSA. I send it off usually with USPS. I don't really insure anything. If something happens, it happens. I'm kind of a risk taker in that way. I know some people are not very comfortable with that, so insure whatever you need to insure. To me, I've never really done it, and God bless, I have been very fortunate with my mail luck so far. Once you get the USPS delivered message, what happens is PSA will message you. They're going to tell you, hey, look, we received your package. And then you're stuck in limbo until they process your package. And then you're stuck in limbo pretty much until the grades come out. Now, before the grades come out, what's going to happen is PSA is going to email you in case something got a 10, which is over the $500 value, which is like the limit for the $15 submission tier. What you have to do is basically just reply, say, yes, I approve. You're obviously going to approve the upcharge because you got a 10 on that, right? Like the value of the card has gone up a lot. But I would recommend you check out what the values are, what the last sold listings are, because you can message them and say, hey, I don't agree with this evaluation. Send them proof and they will waive the upcharges. Believe it or not, I've done it multiple times. I've done it with a lot of PSA 9 LOB first edition Blue Eyes where they try to upcharge you like $1,000. It's not gonna happen with me, right? Do not let it happen with you as well. Make sure that you're attentive, make sure that you know what you're getting billed for, and make sure that it's the rightful amount. Once you approve the upcharges, you're gonna get a reply from one of the people there. They're gonna be like, thank you for approving. I'm gonna push this order through. And then he's pretty much stuck in limbo again until you get the tracking number. Now, once you get the tracking number, sometimes they might ship them out in 2 separate packages. I don't know why PSA does this. Like, it really boggles my mind. One tracking will be uploaded and then the other tracking is like missing, like you don't know where it is. So when you're tracking the one item and you get the package in, what you're gonna see is sometimes you're gonna open it up, especially if it's a large order. And this is why I don't like submitting large orders, because they do this type of shit. So when you open up the package with the tracking number, sometimes you will see that there is some cards missing. Don't worry, that's usually coming up with a follow-up package that will arrive a day or two later. And again, this is why I recommend the middleman in the USA, because in the US, usually they don't separate the packages. They all come in one go. It's usually only like the FedEx ones that go international. Like, bro, they charge me like 3 packages for 75 cards. In what world is that okay? And every package is like the highest class of FedEx shipping. Like, they don't even go with like the cheap ones like FedEx Ground. They go with like FedEx Economy or FedEx Priority, which is like $300 a package. At one point, I literally got a bill for $500 for return shipping. It's absolutely absurd. I promise you, find the US middleman. It will save you a lot of headache, a lot of time. And yes, it is a lot more risk. You are not dealing with PSA one-on-one. But in my opinion, I always take the risk. I rather save the money. It's just my whole philosophy on life. I do it for everything in my life. And it's been doing me really well. I live my life on one motto, which is fortune favors the brave. And that's how I like to apply it in my life, okay? I take a lot of risk, and even when I take a little bit of losses, it will always be a lot less than what I would have lost if I had just paid for all of these extra expenses. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That is like a huge rundown on the step-by-step process of what happens when you submit things to PSA, how you should be submitting them, how I submit things. Let me know if you have any constructive criticism on my process. Do you think I should be doing anything else to improve? Should I be doing anything to make the monkeys at PSA have less things to worry about and reduce the chance of damaging my cards? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed this. Subscribe if you want to see more. And if you want to support me further, you can shop at strictlysealed.com or use the links in the description below. That's all from me. I hope you guys enjoyed and I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.